Have you ever considered that the most extraordinary, mind-bending science fiction story ever told isn't found in a book or on a screen, but is unfolding right now, inside of you and all around you? That the greatest epic is not one of starships and distant galaxies, but of the silent, relentless, and infinitely creative force of life itself. Our exploration tonight begins not by venturing into the distant cosmos, but by turning our gaze inward and around to embrace biology as the wondrous study of life itself. It's a journey that takes us from the unseen, silent hum of a single cell to the vast, breathing, interconnected ecosystems of our planet. This is an invitation to reawaken a gentle state of curiosity, to look at the world with the fresh eyes of a child and recognize that every single creature, from the smallest insect to the largest whale, carries a deep, astonishing story of existence. It's a powerful and humbling reminder that all of life, in every form, is tirelessly, endlessly creative and profoundly, inextricably connected. We are all part of a grand, living narrative, a symphony of existence that has been playing for billions of years. Let's start with you. Right now, as you're listening, you are a universe. It sounds like a metaphor, a poetic flourish, but it is a literal, biological truth of staggering proportions. Inside each and every one of the trillions of cells that make up your body, the cells in your eyes processing these words, the cells in your ears translating the sound of my voice, the skin cells on your fingertips, lies a nucleus. And within that nucleus, protected like a sacred text in a vault, is your DNA, the blueprint of you. This isn't just a simple instruction manual. It's an epic saga written in a language of 4 letters, a T, C, and G. Imagine a thread so fine it's invisible to the naked eye. If you were to take the DNA from just one of those microscopic cells and gently unravel its tightly coiled, helical structure, this delicate thread of life would stretch out to be about 6 feet long. A 6-foot-long library of information packed into a space 1,000 times smaller than a grain of salt. Now, let that sink in, but don't stop there. Consider this. You are made of an estimated 37 trillion cells. That's 37 million cells. It's a number so vast, it's difficult to truly comprehend. If we could perform an impossible feat and take the DNA from all of those cells, connecting each 6-foot strand end to end, we would create a single, impossibly thin thread. That thread would form a celestial ribbon of instructions long enough to span the 93 million miles to the sun and back, not once, not twice, but over 600 times. Pause for a moment and truly let the weight of that reality settle over you. This isn't just a random collection of chemicals. It is the most sophisticated, high-density information storage system known to humanity. Every instruction for building you, for the color of your eyes, the curl of your hair, for healing a cut on your finger, for making your heart beat and your lungs breathe, is encoded in this magnificent structure. It connects you to your most distant ancestors, a biological heirloom passed down through millennia, a continuous thread stretching back to the very dawn of life. Contained within that ribbon is the story of every plague, every famine, every survival, and every triumph of your lineage. When you feel small or insignificant in the grand scheme of things, remember the cosmic library you carry within you. You are not just living in the universe. The universe is literally living in you. How does knowing this change the way you see yourself, your potential, your place in the cosmos? Now, let's travel from the universe within to the sun-drenched eucalyptus forests of Australia, home to the iconic koala. We see them as cute, sleepy marsupials, perpetually munching on leaves. But they hold a secret that challenges our very sense of human uniqueness and reveals one of nature's most brilliant strategies. If you were to examine the fingerprints of a koala, you would be looking at a pattern of loops, whorls, and arches, so remarkably similar to our own that under a microscope, even trained forensic experts can have an incredibly difficult time telling them apart. This isn't because we share a recent, close ancestor, a great-great-grandparent in the primate family tree. Not at all. Our evolutionary paths diverged over 70 million years ago. The last common ancestor we shared with the koala was a small, shrew-like mammal scurrying under the feet of dinosaurs. So why the uncanny resemblance? The answer is a stunning phenomenon called convergent evolution. It's the idea that two completely unrelated species, facing similar environmental challenges, can independently evolve the very same solution. For our early human ancestors, the development of ridged fingerprints was paramount for a precise, delicate grip, allowing for the creation and use of complex tools, the very foundation of our civilization. For koalas, the same intricate grip was the key to their survival, allowing them to climb the smooth, sometimes slick bark of eucalyptus trees to reach their sole food source. Evolution, in its infinite, unthinking wisdom, arrived at the same perfect design twice. It is a humbling and profound reminder that the solutions to life's problems are not exclusively ours. We are not as separate from the animal kingdom as we might think. Nature has a playbook of brilliant ideas, and it doesn't mind reusing them. It makes you wonder what other human traits are not so uniquely human after all. We often pride ourselves on the agricultural revolution, the moment our ancestors learned to cultivate crops, paving the way for settlements, societies, and the modern world. We think of farming as a uniquely human invention, a hallmark of our intelligence. But we were latecomers to the party. Long before humans ever thought to plant a seed, another highly organized society had mastered the art of sophisticated agriculture. For over 50 million years, leaf-cutter ants have been practicing a form of farming that is, in many ways, as complex as our own. When you see a line of these industrious ants marching through the rainforest, each carrying a vibrant green fragment of a leaf like a tiny banner, they aren't eating them. Those leaves are not their food. They are taking them back to their vast subterranean colonies to be used as a form of compost. Deep within their intricate underground cities, they have designated chambers or gardens where they meticulously chew the leaves into a pulp. This pulp becomes the substrate upon which they cultivate a very special type of fungus. This fungus, and only this fungus, is what feeds their entire colony. This is a masterclass in symbiosis, a relationship of mutual benefit. The ants are expert gardeners. They meticulously care for their fungus, providing it with a constant supply of fresh material. They weed their gardens with military precision, using powerful antibiotic secretions produced from their own bodies to kill off any competing molds or bacteria. They essentially practice a form of organic, antibiotic-driven monoculture. In return for this tireless care, the fungus provides the ants with a steady, reliable, and nutrient-rich food source that can sustain colonies of millions of individuals. So, while we were still hunter-gatherers, these tiny six-legged creatures had already developed a sustainable agricultural system that has been running continuously for tens of millions of years. It is a powerful lesson in humility and a testament to the fact that intelligence and ingenuity come in many forms and sizes. Let's now dive deep into the ocean, into the mysterious and alien world of one of the most intelligent and enigmatic creatures on Earth, the octopus. Its intelligence is so fundamentally different from our own that it forces us to rethink the very definition of the word. Our intelligence is centralized. It resides in the 3-pound universe inside our skull, our brain, which acts as a central command center, sending signals out to a body that largely follows its orders. An octopus, however, operates on a radically different principle: decentralized or distributed intelligence. A full 2/3 of an octopus's 500 million neurons are not located in its central brain. They are distributed throughout its 8 long, flexible arms. This means that each arm has, in a very real sense, a mind of its own. Each arm can touch, taste, and move with a remarkable degree of autonomy. An octopus can task one of its arms with a complex problem, like investigating a crevice or attempting to open a jar, and that arm will work on the solution semi-independently, with its own local network of neurons making decisions, while the central brain is busy doing something else entirely, like watching for predators or planning its next move. Imagine if you could tell your hand to solve a Rubik's Cube, and it would proceed to do so on its own, twisting and turning the colors into place while you focused on reading a book or having a conversation. That is the reality for an octopus. Researchers have even observed detached octopus arms that will continue to react to stimuli for a period of time, grabbing onto food and trying to pass it toward where the mouth would have been. The octopus, with its 8 thinking arms, proves that life is far more creative and bizarre than we can often imagine. It presents a world where intelligence isn't a single contained flame, but a current that can flow and be distributed in ways we are only just beginning to understand. It challenges the very idea that a brain is a prerequisite for complex behavior. Take a moment and consider yourself. When you look in the mirror, you see one person, a single individual. But biologically, that is a profound illusion. You are not just an individual. You are a walking, talking, thinking ecosystem. You are a planet, teeming with life. For every one human cell in your body, there is at least one bacterial cell living on or inside you. By some estimates, they may outnumber your own cells. This vast and complex community of microorganisms is known as your microbiome, and for centuries, we have been taught to fear it, to wage war on it with antibacterial soaps and antibiotics. But the vast majority of these microscopic companions are not our enemies. They are our essential and ancient allies. The bacteria living in your gut are a perfect example. This internal rainforest of microbes helps you digest food your body cannot, breaking down complex carbohydrates and fibers to release vital nutrients. They manufacture essential vitamins like B12 and vitamin K that are critical for your health. They are also the primary educators and trainers of your immune system, teaching it from birth how to distinguish between friend and foe. But perhaps most astonishingly, this microbiome can influence your mood, your cravings, and your mental health. Through a complex communication network known as the gut-brain axis, the bacteria in your gut can produce neurotransmitters like serotonin and dopamine, the very same chemicals that regulate your mood. An imbalance in your gut ecosystem has been linked to anxiety and depression. This means that tending to your own health is not just about caring for your human cells. It's about being a good steward to the entire ecosystem that you are. What you eat, how you sleep, your stress levels, all of it impacts the health of this inner world. What choices can you make today to better support the trillions of allies living within you? We often perceive the plant world as passive, silent, and solitary. We walk through a forest and see a collection of individual trees, each competing for sunlight and resources. But beneath the surface, under our feet, a silent, ancient, and incredibly sophisticated conversation is taking place. A forest is not just a collection of trees. It is a highly connected and communicative superorganism. When a plant, say a fir tree, is attacked by an insect like an aphid, it doesn't just suffer in silence. It immediately begins to mount a defense, producing chemicals to make its leaves less palatable. But it also does something extraordinary. It sends out chemical distress signals. These signals travel through its roots and, more importantly, through a vast underground network of symbiotic fungi. These fungal threads, known as mycelium, connect the roots of different trees, even trees of different species, forming what scientists have nicknamed the Wood Wide Web. These alarm signals travel through this subterranean network, warning neighboring plants of the coming threat. The neighbors, upon receiving this warning, can then ramp up their own defensive chemistry before the insects even arrive. But it's not just about warnings. This network is also a marketplace for resources. Large, established mother trees that have access to plenty of sunlight can send excess carbon and nutrients through the fungal web to smaller, younger saplings that are struggling in the shade, nurturing the next generation. This reveals that a forest operates not on principles of pure competition, but on a complex balance of competition and cooperation. It's a beautiful and powerful lesson in the strength of community, communication, and mutual support, all happening silently, invisibly, right beneath our feet. In our human story, and indeed for almost every animal on Earth, the arrow of time moves in only one direction. We are born, we grow, we age, and we die. It seems to be the most fundamental and inescapable rule of life. But in the ocean's depths, there is a tiny creature that casually and completely defies this rule. Meet Torritopsis dohrnii, a small species of jellyfish, no bigger than a pinky nail, that has earned the nickname the Immortal jellyfish. When this tiny creature faces a mortal threat, whether it's physical injury, starvation, or a change in its environment that would otherwise mean certain death, it can do something that sounds like pure science fiction. It can reverse its life cycle. It transforms from a mature, swimming adult, the Medusa stage, back into a youthful, stationary blob of cells, a polyp. It is the biological equivalent of a butterfly, threatened by a predator, turning back into a chrysalis, or even all the way back into a caterpillar. From this polyp stage, it can then bud off and grow into a new, genetically identical adult, effectively starting its life all over again. It doesn't just heal. It is reborn. As far as we know, this process can be repeated indefinitely, making it biologically immortal. It doesn't die of old age. This tiny, gelatinous creature challenges our most basic assumptions about aging and mortality. It reminds us that the rules of life, as we understand them, are not universal. Nature's playbook is far more strange and wonderful than we could ever imagine, containing possibilities that seem to violate the very definition of being alive. Consider the environment inside your own stomach. It is a churning sack of hydrochloric acid, a chemical brew so corrosive it can dissolve iron nails. This powerful acid is essential for breaking down the food you eat and for killing harmful bacteria that might have been ingested along with it. But this raises a fascinating and critical question. Why doesn't your stomach digest itself? Why doesn't this potent acid burn a hole right through you? The answer lies in a silent, ceaseless, and absolutely heroic cycle of self-preservation. Your stomach is protected by a thick, slimy lining of mucus, which forms a barrier between the acid and the delicate stomach wall. But this mucus barrier isn't enough on its own. The cells that make up the stomach lining itself are under constant chemical assault. So, your body engages in a furious, non-stop process of demolition and reconstruction. The cells of this lining are completely regenerated at an astonishing rate. By some estimates, you get an entirely new stomach lining every 3 to 4 days. Think about that. Twice a week, you build yourself a brand new stomach. It is a microscopic construction project of epic proportions, happening inside of you right now, without a single conscious thought. This quiet internal miracle is a perfect metaphor for resilience. It shows us that built into our very biology is an incredible innate capacity for renewal. It's a reminder that even when faced with a harsh and damaging environment, we are constantly rebuilding, constantly repairing, and constantly making ourselves new. To witness a hummingbird in flight is to witness a miracle of metabolic engineering. It is life pushed to its absolute physical limits. Zipping and hovering with a precision that defies belief, its wings beating in a blur too fast for the human eye to see, the hummingbird is a living testament to extreme adaptation. To power this extraordinary aerial acrobatics, a hummingbird's heart, a tiny, powerful engine, can accelerate to over 1,200 beats per minute. That's more than 20 beats every single second. For comparison, a resting human heart beats about 60 to 80 times per minute. To keep up with this incredible energy demand, a hummingbird must live a life of constant consumption. Every single day, it must consume roughly half its body weight in sugary nectar. If a human had the same metabolism, we would need to consume over 150,000 calories a day just to survive. This means that a hummingbird is never more than a few hours away from starving to death. To survive the night, When they cannot feed, they must do something equally extreme. They enter a state of near hibernation called torpor. Their heart rate plummets to as low as 50 beats per minute, and their body temperature drops dramatically, all to conserve every precious calorie until the sun rises again. The hummingbird lives its entire life on a razor's edge, between furious activity and near-death stillness. It is a breathtaking example of the extreme and beautiful solutions life can devise to carve out a niche for itself in the world. Let's return to the 3-pound universe nestled inside your skull, your brain. It is, without question, the most complex and energy-intensive object known to exist. Though your brain accounts for only about 2% of your total body weight, it consumes a staggering 20% of your body's oxygen and calories. It is an incredibly hungry organ. And what is it doing with all that energy? It's thinking, it's feeling, it's creating. At any given moment, the billions of neurons inside your head are firing, communicating with each other through a series of tiny electrochemical signals. This constant storm of activity generates a measurable amount of electricity. In fact, your brain, while you are awake and thinking, generates enough electrical power to illuminate a small 15 to 20 watt light bulb. Every thought you have, every memory you recall, every dream you conjure is powered by this gentle biological electricity. The next time you have a brilliant idea, a moment of inspiration that feels like a light bulb moment, you can smile at the literal truth of that phrase. You are, in a very real sense, generating light with your consciousness. This incredible organ, powered by the food you eat and the air you breathe, allows you to comprehend the universe, to create art, to feel love, and to ask questions about your own existence. So, what will you choose to illuminate with your precious energy today? Meet the slime mold. It is one of the most bizarre and wonderful organisms on the planet, an organism that shatters our most fundamental notions of what it means to be intelligent. It's not a plant, not an animal, and not a fungus, but a member of its own strange kingdom. It often exists as a single giant cell, a gelatinous, creeping blob that can grow to be several square feet in size. And most importantly, it has no brain, no neurons, and no central nervous system whatsoever. And yet, this simple, brainless organism can demonstrate behaviors that are undeniably intelligent. Slime molds are master problem solvers. In laboratory settings, scientists have challenged them with complex mazes, placing a food source, usually oat flakes, at the start and end points. The slime mold will grow into the maze, spreading itself out through all the possible corridors. But once it finds the 2 food sources, it will retract all of its growth from the dead-end passages, leaving behind only the single, most efficient, shortest possible path connecting the food. It solves the maze. In an even more famous experiment, Japanese researchers placed oat flakes on a map of the greater Tokyo area, with each oat flake corresponding to a major city or hub. They then let a slime mold loose on the map. The slime mold grew out and created a network of connections between the food sources that was almost identical in its efficiency logic and resilience to the world-renowned Tokyo rail system, a system designed by teams of brilliant engineers over many decades. The slime mold is a master of decentralized problem solving, a living biological computer, reminding us that intelligence is not confined to beings with brains. It can emerge from the simplest forms of life, a collective and efficient wisdom that flows without a single thought. How can we possibly learn about the life of an individual whale, a creature that lives its entire life in the vast, mysterious expanse of the ocean, far from our view? How can we know its age, its history, its journey? The answer, remarkably, is found in a place you would never think to look: its earwax. Like many mammals, whales produce a waxy substance in their ear canals. But because they don't have a way to clean it out, this earwax builds up, layer by layer, over the course of their entire lifetime, creating a long, layered plug. Just like the rings of a tree, These layers of wax create a perfect chronological record of the whale's life. Each year, a light and a dark layer are deposited, allowing scientists to accurately determine the whale's age. But it's so much more than that. By carefully analyzing the chemical composition of each individual layer, scientists can read the intimate story of the whale's life. They can see spikes in stress hormones like cortisol, perhaps corresponding to a period of famine or a long migration. They can detect the chemical signatures of pollutants, allowing them to track the whale's travels through different parts of the ocean. They can even pinpoint major life events, like the onset of puberty, by looking for changes in hormone levels. This earwax plug is a poignant and detailed autobiography, written in a chemical language, chronicling the long, silent life of one of the planet's most magnificent creatures. It's a powerful reminder that every life leaves a record, a unique and precious story worth reading if we only know how and where to look. When you think of the largest living organism on Earth, what comes to mind? A majestic blue whale, the largest animal that has ever lived? A towering sequoia tree, reaching for the heavens? While both are truly colossal, the largest known organism on our planet is far more humble, and most of it is completely hidden from view. It is a single fungus, living in the Malheur National Forest in Oregon. This particular specimen of Armillaria ostoi, more commonly known as the honey mushroom, covers an astonishing 2,385 acres. That's nearly 4 square miles. The small, innocent-looking mushrooms that occasionally pop up from the forest floor are just the fruiting bodies, the tiny tip of a colossal iceberg. The vast majority of this humongous fungus, as it's been nicknamed, exists underground as a sprawling, interconnected network of thread-like structures called mycelium. This single genetic individual has been slowly and silently growing for thousands of years, with estimates of its age ranging from 2,400 to over 8,600 years old, making it one of the oldest living things on Earth as well. It is a silent, hidden giant, weaving its way through the soil, connecting an entire forest ecosystem, sometimes as a parasite, but also as a decomposer, breaking down dead wood and returning nutrients to the soil. It is a profound lesson that the most significant, most powerful, and most ancient things in life are not always the most visible. True greatness can be quiet, hidden, and deeply interconnected with the world around it. In the microscopic world, a world teeming with strange and wonderful creatures, there is one animal so resilient, so tough, that it makes all other survivors look fragile by comparison. It is the tardigrade, a tiny, 8-legged invertebrate often affectionately called the water bear or moss piglet because of its pudgy, bear-like appearance. These microscopic marvels are the undisputed champions of survival. They can be found in nearly every environment on Earth, from the highest mountains to the deepest seas, from tropical rainforests to the frozen landscapes of Antarctica. Their secret is a remarkable ability to enter a state of suspended animation known as cryptobiosis. When faced with extreme environmental stress, they can essentially shut down their metabolism, curling up into a dehydrated ball called a ton. In this state, they can survive the most extreme conditions imaginable. They have been boiled at temperatures well above the boiling point of water. They have been frozen to near absolute zero, the coldest possible temperature in the universe. They have been subjected to crushing pressures, 6 times greater than those found in the deepest part of the ocean. They have been blasted with lethal doses of radiation, hundreds of times more than would kill a human. And in 2007, they achieved their most famous feat. They became the first animal to survive exposure to the harsh, unprotected vacuum of outer space. The tardigrade is the ultimate testament to life's tenacity. It is a microscopic master of resilience, a living example that there is a profound and almost unbelievable capacity for survival built into the very fabric of life. When you feel you are at your breaking point, remember the little water bear. In the world of healing, most complex animals, including us, are amateurs. When we suffer a severe injury, like losing a limb, our body's response is to create scar tissue. It's a quick patch, a way to close the wound, but it's not a true replacement. But in the cool, freshwater lakes near Mexico City lives a creature that is a true master of regeneration, the axolotl salamander. The axolotl has an extraordinary, almost magical ability to regenerate. It is capable of regrowing entire lost limbs, muscles, nerves, and skin perfectly, without any scarring, as if the injury never happened. But it doesn't stop there. It can regenerate its spinal cord if it's crushed. It can heal and regrow damaged portions of its heart. And most astonishingly, it can even regenerate parts of its brain. This incredible capacity for renewal offers profound hope and insight for the field of human regenerative medicine. Scientists around the world are studying the axolotl's unique genetic toolkit, trying to understand the secrets that allow it to turn on these powerful regenerative pathways that lie dormant within our own DNA. The axolotl is a living, smiling symbol of hope. It is a beautiful teacher, showing us that even after a devastating injury, the potential for perfect, seamless healing exists within the playbook of life. In our human societies, we often think of identity, and specifically sex, as a fixed, binary state. But nature, as always, is far more creative and fluid. In the vibrant ecosystems of coral reefs, there are many fish societies, like that of the famous clownfish, where an individual can completely change its sex in response to social shifts, all to ensure the group's reproductive success. A group of clownfish living together in an anemone has a strict social hierarchy. It consists of one large, dominant, breeding female, one smaller, breeding male, and several, even smaller, non-breeding males. If the dominant female dies or is removed from the group, a remarkable transformation occurs. The breeding male, her partner, will physically change sex and become the new breeding female, and the largest of the non-breeding males will then mature and become the new breeding male. This incredible process, called sequential hermaphroditism, is a brilliant evolutionary strategy. It ensures that the group always has a breeding pair, maximizing its chances of passing on its genes. But it also serves as a powerful lesson for us. It challenges our rigid definitions and shows that in the natural world, identity is not always fixed. It can be fluid, adaptable, and wonderfully responsive to the needs of the community. In the murky waters of the Amazon and Orinoco basins, there lives a creature that has mastered one of the fundamental forces of the universe: electricity. The electric eel is not actually an eel, but a type of knifefish, and it is a living, breathing power station. It can generate a shocking jolt of electricity, up to 600 volts, more than enough to stun its prey, deter predators, or give a human a very painful and potentially dangerous shock. How does it do this? The answer is a marvel of biological engineering. Roughly 4/5 of the eel's long body is packed with thousands of specialized, modified muscle cells called electrocytes. Each individual electrocyte acts like a tiny biological battery, holding a small negative charge. When the eel is at rest, these cells are just sitting there. But when it wants to attack or defend itself, its brain sends a near instantaneous nerve signal down its body. This signal causes all of the thousands of electrocytes to discharge simultaneously. Because they are all lined up in series, their individual small charges add up, creating one massive, powerful shock. It is a stunning example of life harnessing the laws of physics, a creature that has evolved to wield the power of lightning. We've already touched upon the incredible underground fungal network that warns of danger, but this wood wide web is so much more than just a forest alarm system. It is a complex, living, and dynamic network that creates a truly interconnected and collaborative forest society. Through this web, trees are not just communicating. They are actively sharing resources and supporting one another. A large, established mother tree, with its vast canopy capturing abundant sunlight, often produces more sugar through photosynthesis than it needs for its own survival. Instead of hoarding this resource, It can send the excess sugars down through its roots and into the fungal network. This precious energy can then be transported and delivered to smaller, younger saplings that are struggling in the deep shade of the forest floor, giving them the energy they need to grow and reach for the light. It's a form of forest socialism, a system where the strong and established actively nurture and support the weak and vulnerable. This underground web creates a community where the health of one tree is inextricably linked to the health of its neighbors. It's a beautiful and profound model for our own human communities. It shows us that true strength and resilience are not found in rugged isolation and pure competition, but in our hidden connections, our willingness to share our resources, and our capacity to support one another. Journey with me now to the deepest, darkest parts of the ocean, a realm where no sunlight has ever reached. It is a world of crushing pressure, freezing cold, and absolute, eternal blackness. You might expect to find very little life here, but in this sunless abyss, life has not only survived, it has evolved to create its own light. This magical phenomenon is called bioluminescence. Countless creatures in the deep sea, from fish and squid to jellyfish and bacteria, have evolved the ability to produce light through chemical reactions within their bodies. And they use this light in a dazzling array of ways. The famous anglerfish dangles a glowing lure in front of its toothy mouth, a hypnotic beacon that attracts unsuspecting prey in the darkness. Other fish use complex patterns of lights along their bodies to communicate with each other, to attract mates, or to identify members of their own species. Some creatures, like certain squid, can use a flash of light to startle a predator, giving them a precious moment to escape into the gloom. In the absolute absence of an external light source, life did not give up. It did not surrender to the darkness. It looked inward and created its own. It's one of the most beautiful and poetic examples of life's boundless creativity and resilience. It serves as a powerful metaphor for our own lives, a reminder to find, nurture, and share our own inner light, especially when the world around us seems dark. We often think of ourselves as static beings, that the you of today is the same you of yesterday and will be the same you of tomorrow. But biologically, this is a comforting illusion. Your body is in a state of constant, dynamic flux and renewal. You are not a static object. You are a dynamic process. You are less like a statue and more like a river. Consider your blood. Nearly all of your red blood cells, the tireless couriers that carry oxygen to every part of your body, are replaced every 4 months. The skin you are in now is not the same skin you had a month ago. Your skeleton, which seems so solid and permanent, is completely regenerated over the course of about 10 years. Over a period of 7 to 10 years, it is estimated that nearly every atom in your body will have been replaced by a new atom from the food you've eaten, the water you've drunk, and the air you've breathed. You are not the same person, physically, that you were a decade ago. This biological reality is a profound and liberating truth. It means that at any given moment, you have the opportunity for renewal. Your body is constantly, silently, and automatically go of the old and creating the new. It is a quiet rhythm of change that carries you forward. It means that change is not something to be feared. It is the most natural state of being alive. As our journey together comes to a close for tonight, we are left to sit with the quiet awe of these biological marvels. We've traveled from the cosmic ribbon of information, coiled within our own cells, to the secret, collaborative societies of trees and the mind-bending realities of immortal jellyfish and thinking octopuses. We are reminded that we are not separate from this world of wonder. We are an integral, breathing part of it. The same endless rhythm of change, adaptation, and creativity that powers the hummingbird's furious heart also beats within our own. Life continues its ceaseless, silent work, even in our moments of rest, regenerating our bodies, powering our dreams, and carrying us forward into a new day. The lesson woven through all of these stories is one of profound connection and astonishing resilience. The indestructible tardigrade the little water bear, reminds us of the incredible, almost unbelievable strength we all carry within us to endure life's harshest conditions. The wood wide web shows us that our true power, our true health, lies not in our fierce independence, but in our hidden connections with one another, in our ability to support and be supported. Let this sense of wonder be a gentle comfort to you. Let it be a reminder of the rich, strange, and beautiful world that breathes all around you, and even more intimately, within you, as you drift into the calm and restorative embrace of sleep. And so I leave you with a question. What was the most surprising story you heard tonight? Is there a particular marvel of biology that will change the way you see the world, or perhaps the way you see yourself? I would genuinely love to read your thoughts and reflections in the comments below. Thank you for joining me on this journey into the heart of life. I wish you a night of deep, restful sleep and a week filled with health, curiosity, and boundless wonder. If you enjoyed this exploration into the marvels of our world, please consider subscribing to the channel and joining our community of curious minds.